Alright, so I just finished watching Rogue, and yeah, this would work if it wasn't a Doctor Who episode or if it wasn't centered around the Doctor, because I'm gonna get this out the way right now. I don't like the idea of the Doctor falling in love with anyone, no matter who it is. Okay? I really didn't like it during the first RTD era where he'd fall in love with rules and everything, and yeah, I don't like it here either as well. So, just gonna get that out of the way right now. But, yeah, this episode is primarily focused on the Doctor basically meeting this guy called Rogue, who is a bounty hunter but has a lot of similarities and that to the Doctor and that, and they make it out and they're gonna be the perfect couple and travel the star, blah 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 blah. But oh no, spoiler alert, just like, oh no, Rogue sacrifices himself and that so the day can be saved. Yeah, it's just not really my thing. This, like, if it was on someone else, like if this was, say, a Ruby Rules story, and it was someone she had fallen in love with, but to be honest, even then, it's done very quickly. Like, it honestly happens really, really quickly, because it honestly happens over the span of about, I don't know, 5 minutes. And that's because 5-10 minutes maximum. Yeah. Because the actual villains, I guess, of this story don't really matter. In fact, they don't even, reveal themselves or kick off really the plot until like the last 10-15 minutes of the episode. And yeah, I mean, the fact I did partly enjoy the fact that, oh, they're not really, they're just cosplayers and that who really don't give a shit about humanity and just treat it like they're basically doing their own version of a TV show. And that it's an interesting idea. It is an interesting idea, and it does make a change of basically, oh, the villain this time is capitalism or AI and blah blah blah. Which, yeah, I might be having a Mandela effect, but I swear, originally when this episode was announced, it had a co-writing credit by RTD, but in the final episode, no, this has no RTD writing credit. Although, then again, being the head writer and that, I mean, you can feel, even though RTD's name is, not in the writing credit, like a lot of episodes and that, like basically Stephen Moffat episodes and a couple of others are the exceptions, but RTD generally does heavily rewrite a lot of episodes, and his fingerprints and that are all over this. And that, I mean, I don't hate it. I don't hate it, but I just don't like the fact, of the Doctor, falling in love and that, and it just being a love story type thing. And I really just do not like it for that reason. And that, like I said, if it wasn't Doctor Who, or if it was, any other character outside of the Doctor, but the fact that it is, yeah, I just really don't like it. And it just brings, I guess, the focus and that of it, because whatever RTD, his vision of Doctor Who is, it's just straying further and further away, and that from what Doctor Who, you know, was and is, and that, and also the literally, if you blink and miss it in the end credits, there's a dedication to William Russell, and that, which obviously was, thrown in last minute type thing. It's like, could have handled that a little bit better, or maybe let it hold on screen for more than a second, like a millisecond, blinking you miss it's gone. I mean, with when they did it for like Barry Lex with Waters and Mars, the gig let it sit on screen and that, for a couple of seconds and that, so you could see it. Just saying, just saying. But yeah, it's just really, not my thing. This, I can understand why some people might like this, but yeah, because the thing is, I do quite like the character of Rogue. I do quite like the character of Rogue, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see him again. To be honest, I would not be surprised if we see him again. And gotta be honest, he makes a better companion than Ruby does. If you got like him and Shooty have way more chemistry and that in this episode. Obviously, it's deliberate, but the two of them bounce off each other a lot better, and that because the problem I have with Ruby is that she's just kind of a nothing character. Like, she's had a one, standalone episode, which ended up not really mattering in the long run. But yeah, with Ruby, she's not really much of a character, and she doesn't really have much to do in any of these episodes, really. Like, we find that she's maybe, you could argue, saying, oh, she's a bit resourceful. She picks up on, things. She knows how to somewhat handle herself and that in the situation and play the act and that, I guess, because, again, spoiler alert, she basically pretends to cosplay and that as a cosplayer and that. So, she can do that. And it was a nice sort of callback and that to the earrings and that at the start of the episode. Something I will say though that wasn't deserved and felt forced is the Doctor's breakdown over when he thinks he's lost Ruby and that, and basically when he thinks she's died, because it then cuts back to a flashback of basically the Doctor promising Ruby's mum that he's going to take care of her, make sure nothing's going to happen, which, mirrors stuff that's happened with other companions and that as well. But it's like, why didn't we have that, previously in like Space Babies or something? It is a very short little scene. And when does it take place as well? So it's just like, that could have been your occasion to go back to a flashback, but no, you cut back to a flashback, and that the audience isn't aware of that happen, so you don't really get to have that impact as well. It doesn't really have much of an impact anyway, because to be honest, most of this series we haven't really seen them together that much, doing much together. Again, 73 yards. Like, basically 99% of the episode is just Ruby on her own. Last week's episode, Dot and Bubble, the Doctor and Ruby and that, barely feature in that episode. And when they do, they're not really, together in it. So, yeah, that is also the problem with an episode cut down and that as well. You've got to really, focus it in more on it. And I think the, Doctor companion relationship and that, it just doesn't feel like it's just being established or anything like that. It just kind of feels like it's just, there as a thing. And the Doctor calling, Ruby his best friend, it's like, really? Really? You got to earn that. You got to more earn that kind of thing. And, last time, I think it was in 73 yards or something like that, Ruby said she hadn't known the Doctor for very long. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, obviously, we've had we don't have the Doctor say that, about companions very often, and that the first time I think he ever says it, and that is in Seeds of Doom about Sarah Jane, but there it makes sense because that was Elizabeth. That was at the end of Elizabeth Sladen's, third season, and she'd been through two doctors, so it like being together for a while, so it makes sense and that for that. I mean, also K9 is the Doctor's second best friend. I don't know. It's just kind of a load of little things and that you kind of pick up on. I just kind of feel forced in there to try and make it as emotional as possible. But I just feel nothing in the end over it. I just really feel nothing in the end over it because really it's just a thing of, oh, this is the emotion you should feel. But it just has the problem of, well, we haven't built up the characters and given you really much of a reason to care. So it's just like, what, why should I care? We haven't really got much engagement in this, Doctor companion relationship at all. And we also have a pointless, opening and that as well. And also, why is this episode is, again, I think 44 minutes something, just shy of 45 minutes if I remember rightly. Yeah, why are these episodes, not pushing them to the limit? Because there's no real reason not to. Like, yeah, they're broadcast on BBC One, but generally they're made for streaming more than anything else. Like, let's not pretend they're made for Disney Plus. Essentially, everything else is essentially secondary. So it would have been nice, if we maybe pushed them all to at least 50 minutes each. Like Space, was it Space Babies that was 50 minutes, or The Devil's Cord? Might have been The Devil's Cord that was 50 minutes, but like, have them all at least be that, ideally an hour, and that, because it just feels like you've got no time in this episode, and by the time things, actually maybe get going in this episode, it's already over. And that there's no time to do anything else, there's no time to build up on anything. So, yeah. Rant about that over. I feel like I'm repeating myself in that a lot with this, but yeah, I don't like the decisions and that were made in this episode, so yeah, just not my thing, unfortunately. There were some good aspects in that to it. I didn't hate it. I didn't hate this episode, and rethinking Dot and Bubble and that, I don't think I'd enjoy that on a second watch. And that, mainly because I knew, where it's going. I think Dot and Bubble only works on a first time watch where you don't exactly know where it's going. And that this episode, I could probably rewatch it again. And I worked out, it's still not the weakest episode. I mean, God, I don't think, I'd be amazed if anything goes as low as Space Babies. And that, at least for this season, I'm not calling it the worst episode of Doctor Who, because there are much worse. And that, like, Space Babies, it doesn't make me angry, it just bores me more than anything else, and maybe slightly irritates me. But yeah, there we go, people, there we go.